Muy buenos días a todas, a Otis, cordial saludo.
Good morning,
Feliz
everyone.
martes. Entonces
Happy
le damos la
Tuesday.
palabra a la
We're going to
profesora
give
para
the
que
welcome
inicie.
to Miss
Muchas
Angela
gracias.
so she can start. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, today we have a lot of activities and challenges. And to begin, I have a special guest. She's Cielo Chindoy from the south of my country. She's a healer from Kansha people. And she's a student from International Relations and Political Science. And I am so glad to share with you the beautiful work of Cielo. Cielito, buenos días, bienvenida.
Hola a todas.
Cielito, welcome.
Buenos días.
Welcome, everyone. Good morning.
Muchas gracias por la invitación.
Thank you for the invitation.
Bueno, bastante cambian.
Well,
Atkam traviesa nuntava no kanchnola. Sabe, licenciado, mamá licenciada, ayat le cuentas palabras cuetzinove. Soy Cielo Chindoy, soy mujer indígena del pueblo Camantra, que está ubicado al sur de Colombia.
I'm located in the south of Colombia, and also I'm a student in my last semester of International Relations and Political Sciences. I am also being in a beautiful project of learning about the wisdom that our grandparents and our elder have left as a legacy, and all the track that they've had in their life, and also dedicate myself to knitting as well, trying to learn about medicine and cleaning as well of women. And today, I'm very honored and thankful because I'll be sharing with you a group of women who I admire a lot, and because Ms. Angela, from what you tell me, the process that you're living is very beautiful, and I want to share with you, just to begin a session, a beautiful topic, which is of Peruvian women. And also, I'll be accompanied by an instrument, which I'm also learning. So if I make a mistake, please excuse me. Part of the process. Do you want me to do it in English or Spanish?
If you want, you can in English, because here it's the most important is to be happy. And I think for you, perhaps it's a better opportunity to speak in English, our English, because our English is not the best English in the world, but it's our English, and is to communicate our feelings. Go on, Celita.
Thanks so much for this amazing opportunity, and I'm so happy to stay here. And just to begin, my eyes are advice. They are the beacon of life, and watch over our steps. My mouth is history. It brings the word of time, which is the seed of this witness. My hair are the paths that start from me, that reach me. My shoulders are my collective. And the collective are the shoulders of the world. My hands of the work are your nourishment. They are to help you. My heart is an antenna that receives your energy. It is a womb of love, which shelter you, which accepts you. My womb gave you life, and here your story begins. My womb will make us immortal. My blanket is protection and shelter. It is family and nourishment. My color are the dream of your dreams. The identity of our ancestors. My faith are the world, our people. They are our future. I'm a woman, the earth and the weather. We breathe together under the same mantle. We will bloom together and we meet again and again until we are unique. I'm an indigenous woman, a woman in sweet words, and dim, Amazonian, from the highlands, fighter, student, survivor. I'm on you and you are part of me. Together and only together, we will achieve truth, reparation, and healing. Thank you much to listen to sí, es como un escrito muy, muy bonito.
This is a beautiful writing of Peruvian women who fought for a lot of time for dignifying their names, to put the value of women in the spaces that are very difficult, led by violence towards the territories and through their bodies, and here through the writings and through their poems, they were able to speak and fly and see the collectiveness that is between them in the music to create the spaces. And now I'm very happy, I'm very honored, like I said, to be here and be sharing with you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Cielito. Bye. Cielito, I ask you if you can share with the group some of the phases of your experience using female intercultural methodologies in your community. Do you want to share the PowerPoint?
Sí.
Cielito, bájate.
¿Y la presento o la...?
Preséntala. Bájate un poquito la cámara, que te vemos la boca solamente. Bájate la cámara un poquito.
Listo, espérate. Entonces, en un segundo, ya lo busco la presentación. Bueno, entonces ahorita le voy a contar un poco
The presentation
sobre
is called Creating Safe and Free of Violence Methodologies.
Entonces, el trabajo que yo hago, bueno, también lo que he
But this is
aprendido
part of
en
the
el
work that I
camino,
do and what I've learned on the way.
creando metodologías seguras y libres de
This is
violencias.
safe and free of violence methodologies,
Involucra
which
metodologías propias
involves
de mi
methodologies
territorio,
that are part of my territory,
relacionado pues con las temáticas que son
related with
difíciles
the
de
topics that are
trabajarlas
very
en los
hard,
mismos, ¿no? Sabemos que
working with
las
within the
mujeres
territory.
indígenas hemos sido
Indigenous
violentadas por
women
mucho
have always been
tiempo y
victims
hablar
of
sobre
violence, and
emociones,
along
sobre
the time they talk about
sentires, sobre
emotions, about
sexualidad
feeling,
es
about
muy difícil,
sexuality. It's very
es como un
difficult,
tabú con las
and it's a
abuelas, con los
taboo with the
abuelos
grandparents
o
and
inclusive
the
con las
elders,
mismas jóvenes.
and because they've lived through such tough situations.
Entonces, una metodología que he trabajado
Methodology that we've worked with
se llama,
is
o la
weaving.
he denominado, el tejido como ruta de
It's
sanación
weaving as
y
a path
resiliencia.
to healing and resilience.
Y debo agradecer aquí mucho a mi abuela
And I see my
Narcisa, que
grandmother,
ella
Anasisa,
me enseñó desde muy chiquita el
who
tejido.
taught me from a
El
very young age
tejido
how
es
to do
nuestra
this.
forma
And
de
this is our
resistir a través
way
del
of
tiempo,
persisting through
en
time,
donde se plasman los
where
símbolos,
we
se
can put
plasman las
symbols,
historias,
the
se plasman
history.
los mitos de
You
nuestro
can state the
origen,
myths of our
pero también se
origin,
plasman nuestros
but
sentires.
also our feelings.
Cada símbolo guarda una historia
Each of the
milenaria
symbols that we see here
y
serves
también expresa lo
a
que
history
sentimos,
and
cómo
also
nos
expresses how we
sentimos
feel, how we're feeling,
y también la forma de
and
protección para
also
cada
the
mujer.
way of protection for each of the women.
Estos símbolos tienen un poder que
All the
guardan
symbols have a power
de
that are kept
protección, de sanación y de
for
historia.
protection of healing and the history.
Entonces, en un contexto de
So
ciudad, pero
they have a
también
different
dentro del
context
resguardo,
of
eh,
safekeeping,
hice que las mujeres
and
nos reuniéramos
it
en la
says that
ciudad
women
para hablar
don't come to
precisamente
the
sobre cómo nos
cities to express
sentíamos, sobre nuestros sentires,
about
sobre
our
lo que les
feelings,
estaba pasando en un contexto que es
about
tan
what is
difícil como
happening
en la ciudad,
in their
porque
context.
llegar
And when we
desde
go
un
to the
resguardo
city,
hasta
we have to see safeguarding
hasta el caos de la ciudad.
to the chaos of the
Entonces es muy
cities.
importante hablar
It's
sobre cómo
very
nos
important
sentimos, sobre
to
qué es
talk
lo que
about how we're
estamos
feeling
haciendo para
or what we're
conectarnos con nuestro
doing to
territorio,
connect with the territory,
y también
and
de pronto
also
si alguna estaba siendo
to, in a
violentada
moment,
en
to
algún
see if we're
espacio
talking
y
about
pues no lo podía expresar.
creating the spaces,
Entonces
being able
este
to be
fue un
there.
espacio muy bonito en
But
donde
this is
nos
a very,
reunimos
very
a tejer
pretty space that we
y
had where we were able to
en
connect,
cada
to
sesión de
weave,
tejido
and
empezamos
each
pues
of the sessions that we
hablando
had, we talk about
sobre nuestros sentires, iniciamos como creando
our
espacios
feelings, so we start creating
seguros, libres de
spaces,
violencia,
safe spaces for violence in that sense.
en un espacio colectivo también, como
In the collective space as well,
utilizando la armonización
when we
para
put the
abrir cada
harmonization into
espacio
it,
y
to create
también
the
la palabra
space, and
dulce.
also when we talk about sweet words to be used.
Entonces, además de aprender
So
esta
besides
sabiduría
learning
que es
this
milenaria,
practice, this wisdom,
también sirvió como para
we
establecer un
also
espacio, como lo dije
establish
anteriormente,
spaces
seguro,
to
libre
discuss
de violencia y
real violence,
también
and
en
also
donde ellas pudieron
in
pues
which
aprender el
they can
tejido desde
also
diferentes etapas,
talk about the
porque el
different stages that
tejido,
they live and
para
why
llegar a
women is
tejer,
important.
así como se ve en la imagen, como se ve
Just
en
like
esta
in taking
imagen,
images,
hay que pasar por diferentes
we
etapas.
go through different
Entonces,
stages.
también fue muy bonito porque se
So it's
relacionó como
pretty in
cada
that
etapa
sense
desde el inicio,
because we can
antes de
relate
hacerle
to
un
every
símbolo.
stage with symbols, the
También se
beginning,
relacionó como con esos espacios que uno crea, ¿no?
and how
Entonces,
they
primero
go
hay que
expanding into different
crear un
stages.
espacio seguro, crear un espacio de
So we create the safe
confianza,
spaces, create the
tener
trust,
la certeza de que todas de pronto estén
have
bien,
the
no estén mal,
certainty that
que tengan la
that is a
oportunidad
process for
también
the good or the
de
bad,
expresarse y ya a
and be able
medida
to
que ellas
express
iban
themselves.
avanzando, cuando ya
And that
pasaron a ser las
way,
figuras y
once they start
a
creating the
plasmar
different parts, they'll be
cada
more
figura,
open
pues ya se
to
miraba como
create the
que había más
different images,
confianza para hablar sobre, no sé, si estaban
to
siendo
speak
violentadas en algún espacio
about their
en
if they
sus
had
casas,
a
en la
violence
universidad,
experience, or
en
have the space
Bogotá.
in the
Entonces, claro,
universities, or
encontramos que habían sido
we
víctimas de
found that they were
discriminación,
victims
víctimas también de violencia,
of different types of
víctimas también
violence,
en la calle. Bogotá es una ciudad,
even in the
a pesar de que es muy
streets,
diversa, igual sigue siendo una
from
ciudad
different
muy
types of
céntrica, en
violence,
donde el racismo y la violencia y la
where
discriminación sigue siendo
racism and
muy
violence and
presente.
crimes is part of their life.
Entonces, encontrar estos espacios en donde solamente era de mujeres y para mujeres, Ellas la encontraron como una ruta de reconexión con el cuerpo, reconexión
reconnecting with
también
the
con el
body,
territorio
reconnecting
y como un
with the
mecanismo de sanación,
territory as a mechanism of healing as well.
donde a través del compartir de la palabra
Where through the sharing of the word,
era un momento de sanación
there's a
mutua,
moment of healing to allow a
permitiendo
process of
dar
healing
voz a todas
and
las
allowing
mujeres.
also to have all
Habían
women,
mujeres de diferentes edades,
to have
entonces
women from
todas
different
podían
ages,
expresarse
so they were all able to express
y
themselves.
como a través de la palabra dulce que
And
nosotros
through
decimos,
the sweet words
o
that
de
we
una
could use,
forma muy, muy
they were able
cuidadosa,
to be
compartíamos
careful
nuestros saberes,
and
entonces eso era
share
como una
the different
ruta de
messages.
sanación a
So that
través del
was a
tejido,
pathway for
¿no?
healing
En donde
in
se
that
podían
case,
abordar,
in which
además
they could
de
open up
aprender el tejido,
and
que es
discuss,
nuestro pilar de
besides the
educación,
weaving,
pues también se trataban temas tan difíciles como
they
son
could
las
also
violencias sexuales.
discuss topics such as different types of violence.
Bueno, eso por un lado.
That for one part.
Ahora la otra metodología se
Then the other
llama el
methodology that we
círculo de
use is
palabra o
the circle
palabra
of the
dulce,
words or sweet words that we've
donde
spoken
hay un
about,
espacio que
where
también
we
es
created a space
ancestral, también
which
de pronto de varios pueblos indígenas de
it
Latinoamérica,
also to have a part of it's proper of
especialmente
the
en el
Latin
pueblo
America region,
Kalinká,
where people of
es
towns,
en donde es un diálogo horizontal, es
where they
decir,
have
que no hay una
a horizontal
jerarquía y
dialogue.
respuesta,
We have
sino más bien en
an
donde
answer,
todas las
questions and
mujeres o
answers
las personas o
for all
los
women to
participantes
participate, all the
tienen la
participants to
oportunidad de
participate
compartir sus
and have the
sentires,
opportunity
compartir
to
su
share their
sabiduría, su
feeling, share
conocimiento,
their wisdom, their knowledge,
em, y en donde desde una forma
and in
armónica,
which
¿no? Se
they had a
comparte
harmony as well
diferentes discusiones en
to
torno
express
a.
different discussions in terms
Entonces,
of,
por ejemplo, ahí en las
for
imágenes estábamos
example,
hablando sobre
images
las plantas y el cuidado hacia la mujer,
about the plants and the women,
acompañadas pues de mayoras y de abuelas, en donde ellas nos enseñaban sobre las
in which they can
plantas
teach us
más
the different
importantes para el
plants
cuidado, sobre, por
on
ejemplo, la menstruación o, por
the
ejemplo,
menstruation or
Cielito, es que
ujú.
está, I think Mimi is saying somebody have a problem with the interpretation.
No escucho.
Nukila, do you have a problem with the interpretation of?
No, I'm
Or,
fine. It's clear.
It's
I'm
clear?
fine. Yeah.
Or I think it's a Mimint case. She has a problem with the interpretation.
Thank you, teacher.
And now it's better or?
Hola.
I'm not sure. Teacher is stop talking, so.
Okay, okay. Cielito, puedes intentar, es que ya está oyendo las dos lenguas al tiempo. Intenta otra vez a ver.
Ahí me escuchan mejor. Hola, ¿me escuchan mejor?
No problem, teacher. You can move on. Sorry. I think I will try to manage in here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Listo, Cielito.
Y bueno, sí, como les venía comentando,
all right, like I was saying,
a través de estos círculos de palabra
through these
también
circles of words,
se pueden
we are
resolver
able
conflictos,
to
¿no?
solve issues, conflicts,
Porque a través del diálogo horizontal, en
because
donde
through
pues
the
todas las
horizontal
mujeres
dialogues with
tenemos la
women,
posibilidad de
we
expresar
have the
nuestros sentires,
possibilities to speak
se
about
vuelve
our
también un
feelings,
espacio colectivo
and it
para
also becomes a
la
collective space
construcción de una ruta
to
de sanación,
construct
pero también
a
de
pathway for
aprendizaje.
healing as part of the learning process.
Y al ser un círculo, todas las mujeres nos sentimos
And
como
make a
muy
circle
tranquilas, ¿no? De participar, de
and
compartir
be
con
there
la otra, de tener la seguridad de
and
que
be
me van a
sharing with them
escuchar y de si quiero participar también,
and be
como
able to
que
see, make
no
spaces.
hay jerarquía, ¿no? Y no te van a juzgar por lo que vas a decir, sino más bien es un espacio colectivo
And this is a
para tejer
collective
las
space where
sabidurías
not
y
judgment is
también
being made.
como las rutas de sanación, ¿no?
And this is a
Entonces,
healing process.
em, estas dos metodologías me han servido un montón para trabajar en los
And this is method
resguardos
to help us a lot.
acá en Bogotá, en donde la sabiduría pues, de mis abuelos, de mis abuelas siguen
And of our
vivas, siguen
voice
vigentes,
eh,
para construir
to
como
construct
nuevas formas, ¿no? de
new
trabajo y también
ways of work
involucrando mucho lo que es de nuestros
and
territorios, ¿no? Y no dejarlo
within our
como
territories.
atrás, porque si bien hay unas metodologías
There's some
occidentales que
methodologies
también son
that
importantes,
are occidental, that are
también
very
hay que
important,
recuperar lo
that we also
nuestro,
need to
hay que
work
recuperar y darle valor a lo que tenemos, a
and
lo que
give
nos han
value to the
enseñado
people
y lo que nuestros
and the
abuelos nos han dejado
grandparents and
por
what they
mucho
do and left
tiempo
that
y
behind
que
for us for many
han sido
years,
invisibilizadas por todos los
that
procesos
also
de
been invisibilized
colonización,
because of the
claro, por la educación
colonization,
occidental
because
impuesta
of the
a
education that we
nosotros.
also have been receiving,
Y ahora es el momento de
and
que
also
volvamos
because this is the
a
moment now
retomar
that
lo
we can
que
take
por miles y miles de años se
for
ha
thousands of years
desarrollado
have been
en nuestros
processed
territorios y se han mantenido. Entonces,
and have
bueno,
been kept in our territories.
agradecerles por escucharme, estoy muy feliz de estar aquí y
And I'm
ojalá que
happy
se
to
sigan
be here again
tejiendo
so that
muchas
we can
más
continue weaving
metodologías
and
de
creating more
trabajo,
connections
de cuidado
and
con las
collective
mujeres,
work
todas las
with women
personas.
and with all the people
Gracias.
around you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cielito. I don't know if do you have questions or comments to Cielo, perhaps? No?
Buenos días.
Bueno, dale, Jess.
Sí, muchas gracias.
Good
Cielo,
morning. Thank you very much, Telo, for
nos
for
compartes.
what you have shared with
También
us.
estamos en este
We
proceso
are
de
also in this
aprender
process of learning
metodologías
methodologies,
interculturales de investigación
intercultural methodologies for research,
y es muy
and
bonito
it's very nice
saber y conocer
to
cómo
know and
nuestras
listen
propias
about
prácticas
your own
culturales
cultural practices.
hay metodologías de
We
investigación
have
que ponen
methodologies for
el
research that
conocimiento
can be useful and put the
dentro
knowledge in the
de los
center,
pueblos, ¿no? Toda esa cosmovisión alrededor
all
de
the
la tierra
cosmovision.
es muy importante, ¿no?
This is very
Y
important,
engloba pues toda una serie
and it matches the
de
process
actividades muy
of
valiosas, ¿no? Que
activities
van desde
that are very valuable for the
la
process
colectividad con las
and the
mujeres,
collectiveness with
construir
women,
ese ambiente
and that are
pues bueno,
also
de
creating that
prosperidad
environment that are safe,
segura, pero que además también
and
puede
that at the same
conocer
time we can also
otras cosas,
learn.
¿no? Entonces, muchas gracias por
So
compartirnos.
thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Jessie. Mine or Liz? I don't remember who wants to.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Buenos días, compañeras. Yo
Good
igualmente
morning. I also want to thank
cuando hablaba la compañera y
when she was speaking about this presentation, I was having these feelings about how much we share as towns, national towns and nationalities in Latin America, because in my culture as well, we have been connected as well with the prior class with fire, which is important for us, and having a seat around fire and talk about, like we're doing this circle of words with the elder are the ones who are leading the way, leading the process, even if it's intergenerational, where we have our youth as well present. So I remember when I was a child being in these circles. I was also nodding because I was very small, falling asleep as well. But they were also adult talking, but it was pretty to be part of it. And now that this is start to be losing, being lost because, and the research is about to allow us to rescue this part because it's a way of doing research. And I call this Remind Queen, which is part of this research that I will be doing. Remind Quick because I feel that it's a word that it becomes a web as well that has many things interweb in it that is very comprehensive as well because it's not only about the fire in the center, but about creating that space. It's another being that is with us, that is being part of the dialogue. And we also have our grandparents, our elders. We have the different generations. They're all sharing their different topics. Yesterday when we were seeing a video in the past class that we're looking at a video about Mapuche women.
Yo me acordaba mucho que eso también se aplica en nuestras comunidades. Yo creo que no va a ser diferente también en otras. Y
We talk about
cómo
the importance. We can see also generate epistemologies and proposed methodologies that are own based on what we're learning, what you're guiding us, and how we can be connecting and writing that experience as well.
Thank you, Samai.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful to see you. Please open the camera. You are so beautiful. Please share with us your beauty. Well, I don't know if, for example, Daisy, now you have your micro working because the last class you want to share with the group in the same way, no? Because I have today this necklace from Kenya. And in Africa, you have so interesting methodologies. Perhaps, I don't know if we can do a small check-in with the participants in your project, how you can use, for example, as Samai or Jessie said, your own cultural and intercultural methodologies. Who wants to share? Daisy?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
I'm sorry. I have to use my phone because my laptop's audio has issues. And just a minute, let one of my friends share, then I will share my experience. Just a minute.
Okay, Daisy's she's dealing with the connection. Perhaps another participant can share or want to share.
Hello.
Vivian or Jenny Lynn?
No, I was just wondering whether you could repeat the question again because I didn't cut that because of connectivity issues on this side.
Okay, I want to check with the group if you have an idea in your project or about intercultural methodologies, specifically for example, in your case, Vivian.
Okay.
If you can share, it could be amazing.
So for me, my research, I'm going to investigate the impacts of establishment of a cement industry in the community land. So we all understand that indigenous peoples are pastoralists. They derive most of their livelihoods from the land. But now, because of the establishment of the cement industry, it has resulted into so many problems. So the kind of methods that I will use is I will use storytelling methods whereby I'm going to interact with the community women, and then we are going to have a conversation with them. And then now they will tell me the impacts, the social impacts that the industry has affected them. Also, I'm going to employ other techniques like traditional songs during ceremonies, and things like that, so that I will get time to interact with the women, with the community, and get the information that I need. Yes.
Okay, okay. You have an incredible methodology, storytelling, traditional songs. And now, as for example, Samais was talking about her workshop because she's planning a workshop and she has a name, a sexy and interesting name for her methodology. Perhaps it's interesting for you to go deeper and to think storytelling about what specific issue. What is the title of your storytelling workshop? The phases and your objective. What do you want before doing the workshop or the storytelling encounter? Yes, because as in the modern science, we have, for example, focus groups, interviews, etc., with faces, etc. I think it's so incredible if the participants of this group should share with the outsider science, no, this possibility. And I think you have a stronger methodology approach, and now perhaps it's interesting to go more specific and deeper to explain, because for you it's like everyday practice. Yeah, yes, but perhaps, I don't know, for Cielo, I don't know if for example, Cielo or I don't know, Jessie or Liz, I think perhaps we want to know more about this incredible methodology, no? And it's important and for example, as we have been talking the last session for the economical actors and international agenda, is so important to understand why they should give you, for example, a grant. And I want to encourage the group to be specific and strategic. Yes, I know sometimes these incredible methodologies are sacred, and I know it's important to only share with the international corporations, institutions, etc., the knowledge that you want to show and to share. Yes, but in terms of lobbying and to establish the actors' plans, is important to be specific. It's a difficult tension, no? Before how I can protect my knowledge, the knowledge of my community, and it's a big decision, no? To think about what and why I want to share this methodology. Okay, thank you, Vivian. Daisy, are you ready? Good, go on.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so for me, the methodology I'm going to use is, first of all, I would like to thank Miss Cielo. Thank you so much. That was so insightful. I'm going to use songs and the traditional ways, like, for example, I would like to share with you a different type of beat today that goes hand in hand with my research. As I told you, I'm doing a research on challenges faced by girls in education in my community in a nearest village. And as you can see this, I hope you can see that. This is a bead that when a lady or a girl gives birth, or a woman, or when they are circumcised, they tie it on their lower belly. So, oh, someone is saying we can't see. I'm sorry. I'm using another camera.
Yes,
Let
they
me
see
turn on.
perfect. It's perfect. We can see.
Yeah, so I thought I also have these, and these ones have meanings I will explain in my research. But this one is what goes hand in hand with my research, because I'm going to use songs with the mothers in my community. And the song says, the girls, this one, when you give birth, or once they see you are of age, once they see, let me just say the exact word as it's said in my community. I'm sorry if it will sound. Once they see like a lady's boobs have started to grow, like the small one, you're given these. So the songs that we have composed, the mothers in my community have composed, is they use these, they sing to it against girl child circumcision and early marriages. And it's nice that they've also come up with songs. I've been going to them, visiting them about girl child education. I think songs is going to be one of the biggest methodology I'll use, and also storytelling, because it's through storytelling that I came to learn that all these beads have a meaning. The hooves at the toe, at the end of these beads, they have meanings, and they have very big meanings to girls. And that is the reason girls have been married off in my community. So I'm going to majorly use songs and storytelling and the traditional ways of living that people used to live. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. It's a powerful methodology, no? With a lot of meaning, possibilities. You are an incredible researcher, yes? And now I want to invite you in the same way to name this methodology, for example. Yes, because you are like a genius. You can invented a new methodology with a new name. This is the work of researchers in the world, to produce knowledge. Yes, and perhaps our students at the university, Cielito, the next semester, we can teach, oh, we know an interesting researcher from Kenya. She's an indigenous researcher. Her name is Mrs. Daisy Chepkopus. And if you want, you can use her methodology. And we can, for example, invite the new students, indigenous students, and Afro-Colombian students in our university to replace, for example, I don't know, a French sociologist who talk about a focus group, because it's not interesting to to work this issue using only her perspective, but we can tell the new students, we have one methodology from Mrs. Samai, another from Mrs. Daisy, another from, and you should become international reference for indigenous women researcher. Yes? Thank you, thank you. And now we have another interesting proposal for Jenny Lynn. Jenny Lynn. Hola, Jenny Lynn. ¿Abres el micrófono, por favor?
Sí, bueno, buenos días a todos. Primero quería como darle las
Welcome
gracias.
to you all. First, I would like to thank you for sharing each of your methodologies, and thank you to Cielo for sharing today all her activities that she does. I really like that methodology, that work that Cielo has been doing, because it's one of the issues that I have identified in my community, that a lot of the times as young people, when we have to go to urban areas, we lose that connection that we have when we have that conversation, that conversation with our grandparents. And I'm so glad that you are able to rescue that in areas that are so contaminated with Western society, so that we don't lose our essence. And something else that I wanted to share is also based on the space of dialogue, but in this case, I want to do it with the weaves of, or the linens of the Wayu women, and those practices that we used to do before around in the circle of the words that is done in the early morning, that are not being done today because of the different activities that are done. Sometimes we used to sit with our grandmothers to be able to speak in the early hours of the morning, and we drank coffee, and grandmothers would Dewey, which is a tobacco. And this was something that was very important for our spirituality and to maintain that union with our roots. And so the methodology that I want to apply is called Atunkawa, which is a practice where we will, Atunkawa in Spanish is like sleep. So to recover that practice of talking about our dreams, which we used to do in the early morning hours. We don't say good morning, we say, what did you dream? So go back to that significance that dreams have for us, as we tell each other what we dreamt, and we go ahead and weave that into our fabric. That's what I wanted to share. That's wonderful, Jenny Lynn. Thank you. So I do want to, maybe it's already done, but I would like to reinforce your own consciousness and power that you have in your own methodology proposal. I think that I hadn't told you specifically, but in the university, we accompany over 215 Afro-Colombian and Indigenous students from the entire country, and they do their community projects. And for us, is very impressive to see the power of creation that we have there in terms of methodology and theoretical methods. So I wanted to invite you, so that with this project, you're transforming the way that knowledge is being produced on these subjects. So when you are writing, sometimes writing is boring, or to me, sometimes it's a difficult exercise. But I want you to feel that what you are writing is transforming science, current science, and at least know that those 215 students have the hope to have access to your final projects, so that they can cite you as resources and dream to know you, not just dreaming to know Mr. or Mrs. X, but instead their reference is you and your work. It's very exciting to me to hear you, because I feel like you guys will be a reference to these students.
I don't know, because you have a lot of experiences to share, perhaps before to close this first part of the session. I don't know, perhaps Nukila or Doman, Mimint. I was reading your project, Nukila, and it's so interesting, as Doman and Mimint. Do you want perhaps?
Yeah, I would like to share the approach that I'm still thinking about my approach here. But in my mind, I think because this, I would like to approach them by maybe like a one-on-one, yeah, like a in-depth dialogue with the indigenous women. I would like to learn as well their local language before, because we have many language, yeah. Every indigenous, they have their own language. So I would like to learn at least the survival language, like eating, drinking, or simple words that to melting my discussion with them, to make my discussion with them fluidly. So my strategy will be learn the local language, at least the some words. That's the first one. The second, maybe I would like to uh, because this community live between the forest and the coastal areas. I would like to introduce them with, bring them with the coconuts, and then like a pandan leaves, uh, maybe I will start with them with this kind of the things, yeah. Coconuts, what else? And drinking with them, bring back their memories, yeah. Bring back their memories that this is their land, their water, their sea, their tradition, their ritual. So I would like to remind them with this from the nature, back to the nature as well. And I would like to learn as well, like a slogans, yeah, slogans, or some a folk, how do you call that one? The stories, yeah, the legend stories, or the people stories that I would like to approach them by. Oh, do you know these stories from this area about the girls, about the when you're still a child, are you all like a lullaby, yeah? Like lullaby, folk songs. I would like to learn from that, Angela, before I approach them. I think it's very, yeah, and use the things from the nature, like a coconut, pandan leaves. What else? Rattan. We have rattan in Indonesia, like for making the chair, the table. This the from the nature, rattans, and yeah. So I will like make it fluid, yeah, like that. I would like to mingles between the elderly with the young one, with middle-aged woman, senior one. So because sometimes they don't speak each other, right? So I would like to make them in one place. Maybe the first strategy will be speak to the young one, the girls, and then with the elder, and then with the middle-aged, women, and then I approach them in one room, and then we can speak. And I will, because sometimes they have the activity like, taking the white house, white, how do you call, what, white hair. So for the elder, I will join with them, or sometimes they take like a animal, in the hair. So I would like to do that as well. I think it's being like them, being like them, taking the animal. I don't know the small animal in the hair. They still have it. So I would like the pretending as well to take my something like animal. I don't know the small one in the hair. And also combing the hair or something like that, or yeah, that's still in my mind, like that, Angela, that I will approach them the way that they're doing their daily activities. I think that's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We have an incredible atlas of intercultural and transnational methodologies, and I want to participate in your workshop. It's so amazing to use the coconuts, the resources from nature, and the culture and the everyday life practices. Thank you very much. I don't know, perhaps somebody else, Doman, Mimint, Fatima, want to share before No? The man, do you want to share? Mimint?
Hello, teacher. I think I will share, but I think I also need to work a bit more on my projects to make it a bit more specific and to make it finalized to get a better one. But I will tell you what I plan. I thought I will have a focus group discussions and like experience sharing. I want to have that in a group. Like the not everyone. I mean the women and youth, not elderly people. We will have a group and we will eat like something that we have a group discussion, and I want them to feel like comfortable and share their opinion. How they feel, what have they experienced, what are the difficulty or everything. And I will also use like dialogue we will have in there. And for the athlete, I think we have a individual interview, and yeah, this is what I plan to do.
Okay, thank you, Mimit. And Mimit she's working about a revolutionary topic, divorce and child marriage in her community. I was doing a research about this topic, Mimit, and I think you are the first researcher working about this topic in your region. And it's like that in every case, no? You are the pioneers of the research in your areas, your perspective, and it's so important, no? Because when somebody, for example, our student or other students, Indigenous students and Afro-Colombian students, Afro-Latin American students wants to read something about the topic, you are the first. Yes, and it's so exciting for me to to participate in this. It's like at the beginning, no, the emergence of a new conceptualization and methodological process. Thank you very much, everybody, to share with the group your ideas. And perhaps I want to ask Cielo if you want to do a reflection about some reflection about this first part before going to the next part of the session. What do you think, Cielo, about all these ideas, perspectives? If you can do a reflection, perhaps it's important.
Sí, 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 yo creo que para cerrar, porque también me toca ir.
I think to close, I feel like, as I mentioned before, we are at a time that is very important, where we have the power and the capability to reclaim the wisdom that for very long has existed, but that has been hidden and it wasn't valued because of the history that we have lived as Indigenous communities, and that right now it's the time to reivindicate and to recover that ancestral wisdom. And these are methodologies that are going to bring a lot to the academy that have been made invisible. And it is now time to recover knowledge from our own roots. And I think everything that you're doing is beautiful, and to be able to see what you are proposing for your work from different parts of the world, you are thinking of recovering our own roots and our own knowledge and give it the value that it deserves. And we have been taught for many years that we needed to take the lead of researchers that were from Europe or French, but now we can recover our own knowledge. And as women, we will be able to position our methodologies and our ways of working that we do from the care of who, you know, of our knowledge, and we do it not from an individual perspective but also from a perspective and the values of our communities and from that our ancestors have.
Estos espacios para hacer que de verdad se hace investigación, se hace proyectos muy bonitos y se buscan rutas colectivas para buscar soluciones desde lo que nos han
And
dejado.
to be able to find solutions based on what our ancestors have left us. So I'm leaving very happy with a lot of experience, with a lot of learning experiences. And I know that this is going to be very important and very valuable knowledge
Para lograr encontrar
that you are
soluciones, para buscar metodologías de cuidado. Y bueno, pues también les deseo un bonito día, que terminen bonita la sesión y les mando un abracito a cada una y gracias por compartirme también la palabra.
And I hope that I was able to bring.
Por venir. Un abrazo.
Thank you for being here. Hugs.
Well, now we will come back to the session. It is possible to see my screen? It is working?
Yeah.
Sí, ahí
Yes?
se ve.
Okay. Okay, well, this is the second session of the module number 5. This session is about Indigenous and self-determined development. The contents of the session, first of all, is the research perception. Second, the steps to define the research agenda. Third, the reaffirmation of the role of women researchers. And finally, I want to think about some adjustments to personal research route. The objective is to analyze the relationship and implications of self-determination and development from an Indigenous perspective with the Indigenous Women Research Agenda. And this was the first activity. And now I want to talk a little about some experiences, an example of Indigenous women and self-determination. This is an example from Navajo peoples in the United States, in the border with Mexico. Anita Luceshi, she's from geography, and she's working in Arizona, a very difficult area, about an interesting methodology on self-determined storytelling through cartography and geography. Because she's an Indigenous survivor, and she's using, for example, social cartography to think a future free from violence for herself, for her people, for her community, and for this region. She proposed some question. For example, this is the first question. I don't know if somebody could read the question. Who wants to read the question? Doman, could you help me, please? Reading the question. I think I can hear you. I can hear you. No, I can hear you. Do you hear the mine or is...
No, no se escucha. Cannot.
Well, perhaps is your... Because your microphone is open, but... Well, perhaps if you want, you can check what is the problem, and after I come back with you to another reading. Is okay? I don't know, Daisy.
Yes.
Yes? Thank you.
Once I can read it.
Okay, can you read the question, please?
Okay, the question goes, what can fix it? Applying and upholding our rights as Indigenous peoples in mapping our stories and geographies, and offering a solution by experimenting with what self-determined anti-colonial Indigenous geography can look like, creating our own self-determined sovereign geographies of safety and healing.
Thank you. This is what I am talking before, and now I think all the participants, you have the methodology, the specific methodology. Now I want to ask you to do an intersection between the methodology and the questions. Yes? For example, in her case, Anita Lucchesi proposed social cartography, storytelling, and her question, this is her question, her research question about the self-determination, the anti-colonial indigenous geography, and how she can create their own self-determinate and sovereignty geographies for safety and healing. Yes? Here we have, for example, another example. She's Sultana Kaya. Sultana Kaya she's a leader, a female leader from the Sahara region in Africa, in the north of Africa. And for her and her community, it's so difficult, for example, to talk and to research self-determination, because these people don't have a territory, a land, because his region, Western Sahara, have been colonized by Spanish people. And after Spanish people left the country, in 1975, the King Hassan of Morocco claimed sovereignty over her land and territory. Since this period, the Sahara, the Western Sahara, is a non-self-governing territory. And for example, for this researcher, it's so difficult to think about self-determination without a territory. Yes, this is a difficult case. And for example, in this case, I was thinking how they could and they should propose a methodological approach in this situation. Okay, well, now this was the first activity, to share some results of fieldwork in your projects, and to be more specific about the names of the workshops, the phases of the workshops, the objectives of the workshop, because, for example, the objective of the workshops could be more specific than the general objective of the project, okay? We finished the first part of the presentation by participants and the collective discussion. And here you have a video of decolonizing research methodologies from Africa, from a very interesting African researcher that you could see after the class. Well, here I want to talk a little about the phases of your projects, yes? I know Lorena and we have different temporalities, and perhaps the group actually have been working in a specific manner. But at the end, this Friday, and I think it's this Friday, we will have the presentations from Latin America. And the group from Asia and Africa will have their presentation the 2 of April. Yes, we have a little more time for our group, but at the end, we have the same challenge, yes? We need to do an introduction. We need to write some paragraphs about the context of our case studies. We need to show the background of the case study. In some cases, you are the first person in the world working about this issue. Yes? And it's amazing, and at the same time, it's scary because you don't have a lot of literature, you don't have a lot of studies. But I want to show you one of the functions of Google Scholar after this slide. And I think it's a good tool to know if somebody in the world wrote something about your specific question and objective. After we have the objectives, we have the general objectives, the specific objectives. I want to you are free. If you want to have 7 specific objectives, is okay, but my advice is to be carefully, because if you put 7 or 8 objectives, you need to do the work. Yes, perhaps in research it's better to be not so ambitious, but realistic. Okay, after here is important to remember that the general objective is your principal question. Yes, your principal research question. And the specific objectives are your specific questions. The specific objectives are the chapters of your project. If you choose, for example, 10 specific objectives, you need to write 10 chapters. Yes, for this reason, my advice is to be carefully and realistic, because I think you have a lot of things to do. You need to work, you need to live. It's important to live too, and to enjoy and to take care of yourself. Yes, after we have this section about the spatial and temporal delimitation of the case study. Yes, it's important in the projects from Asia and Africa. Perhaps, I don't know, for me, Mint is really easy to know the name of her community and yes, I don't know, the village. But remember, this is an international diploma. You need to explain, yes, the name of the community, the location of the community, something about your country. perhaps to use a map is a good idea, yes? Because in the future, if the international cooperation will be reading your project, you need to be more specific, okay? It is important to establish the delimitation in terms of temporality, because if you don't said, for example, I want to study this topic in between, I don't know, 2005 and 2020, the temporality is open and is so much work, and I think you don't want to do 25 years of research. It's too much. Yes, we need to be specific in terms of temporality. Okay. Yesterday we had a very interesting session with Elder Lorena, Dunen, and Nadia. And as we see in the first section of the session, you are creating new concepts, you are creating new methodologies, you are creating science, intercultural science, yes? And in this sense, it's important to identify some feeling, thinking, and cosmo-thinking framework, yes? Perhaps this is a big word, no? It's for me, it's a little scaring, no? A framework. What says a framework? How I can write a framework? A framework in reality is easy, because we need to identify some concept or definitions, not a foreign concept of definition, but your own definitions. Yes, for example, in the case of Anita, the Navajo researcher from Arizona, she create the storytelling, the determined storytelling. Yes, she create her own concept. Yes, for example, I think in the case of Daisy, because I have been reading your project yesterday. Yes, you have the definitions. You are interested in education, in girls and women education, but is more specific. It's not all the proposal about education of girls and women in the world. No, you are interested in education of Maasai girls in Kenya, in this specific region. Yes, and you have another kind of concepts as child marriage, as female genital mutilation. Yes, and in the same way that objectives, I think it's important to be carefully. Yes, because if you choose 25 concepts or definitions, you need to do the work. Yes, it's better to choose the most important concept and definition for your project. Your project is the beginning of a big trajectory as researcher. You don't need to do all the work now during these months. Yes, it's only the beginning. And the beginning is, my advice is to be serious, obviously, but not to be so ambitious, because ambition sometimes is, I am so tired when I need to do more than I can do. Yes. My advice is to be carefully in terms of choosing your concepts, your definitions, your objectives, your specific objectives, the delimitation of time and geography. Yes. In terms of methodology, we have today, for example, a lot of ideas of methodological approach. Yes, your methodological approach. I don't know, perhaps Anania, I think Anania and Fifian have a lot of datas, no? I think in my case, Anania and Vivian perhaps needs the combination between quantitative methodological perspective and qualitative methodological perspective, but I think the other participants are more in the pathway of qualitative perspectives, yes? You are a focus and your proposal are founded in some people from your community, but I don't see in our case the needs to...
Parece que no hay interpretación, perdón.
Ay, 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 ok, gracias, Mayora.
Pero nosotras sí la escuchamos.
Y sí la escuchamos en inglés.
Llegamos hasta los estudios de las comunidades, como focalizarse en las...
Ok, sí, mientras que arreglamos el tema, si quieren, ¿qué hago? ¿Les hago un resumencito de esta parte mientras que esperamos o espero?
Sí, sí, te escuchamos.
¿Me escuchan? ¿Y retomo en dónde? Dunente, parece que retomo en dónde.
Como en esa parte que decías de tener presente como de manera específica las comunidades a las que pertenecen, como ahí.
Ok, en Spatial and Temporal Delimitation?
Sí.
Okay, okay. Here I was saying it is important, perhaps it's my character because I want to do everything now. I want to make a comparison between two communities, two countries. I want to compare the two planets, yes? But I think perhaps somebody is like me. And here, this section is so important because it's important to choose taking care of yourself as researchers. Yes, because I know you are a busy people, you have a lot of responsibilities, and it's good to be carefully. Yes. Sometimes as women researchers, as female researchers, we have this, it's like, I need to be more, I need to do something bigger, yes? And perhaps it's interesting to do something small but serious, and here it's important to choose very well the community, the people, yes, the case, to be carefully. No, the delimitation is a beautiful exercise. Yes, I don't know if it's only my problem. Yes, but as women researcher, I have this need, no, to do bigger things, and after I am so tired to do big things because I need to have some time. It's better to do small projects at the beginning and to go deeper, no? To go deeper. Well, after we have this section, yesterday we had a very interesting meeting with Elder Lorena and Dunen and Nadia, and as we said in the first part of the section, here we are in the middle of the emergence of a new definitions, new concepts, new methodologies. And in this sense, it's important to think about which are my principal definitions or concepts, yes? But I think it's the same thing. For example, in the case of Daisy, I was talking about the project of Daisy. She has, for example, one concept is the education, but it's not education in general, because if I choose education, oh my God, you have so many literature about education, yes, in the world. We need to focus. In her case, for example, she's working about indigenous girls, indigenous Maasai girls' education in the community of during the period between 2015 to 2017, for example. Yes, because if you don't establish a good delimitation, you could, yes, you could be lost. Yes, because if you want to do 25 years of research in 2 months, it's too much. It's too much. Yes, we need to be carefully. Here in the methodology section, I was saying many of you have a qualitative perspective. Yes, you are interested in the quality, no, to go deeper, to understand ancestral and intercultural solutions and problems and problematics. Yes, but I know, for example, Anai, she has a lot of data, yes, because she works in a big organization, and she has data from all the country communities, and it's a possibility too. I know, for example, Nukila, even if you are not producing the data, yes, you can use the data of other organizations or other peoples. But here in this section of methodology, you need to choose if I am interested in the quality, yes, to go deeper, or perhaps I want to do quantitative, a quantitative perspective using data from other organization or from my organization, yes, or perhaps I want to do a dialogue between quantitative and qualitative, but at the same way, you need to be carefully, because if you said, I am doing a dialogue between qualitative and quantitative, you are saying you will be the dialogue, yes? I think research is interesting because you are free, but sometimes we are so free that perhaps we are talking about a lot of work, and it's not a good idea to be so ambitious, yes, because we have only 2 or 3 months to produce the results, etc., etc. After we have this part of the activities, you need to have a schedule of activities. My advice is to be carefully. You can choose some activities, interesting activities. More, less activities is not bad, yes, because in qualitative activities it's better to go deeper, and you can't go deeper if you are doing 25 things at the same time, yes. The budget is a very important topic, yes, because it's important to have the delimitation of the activities to know how I can spend my budget. Yes, if I have 25 activities, who wants to pay with my 25 activities? Yes, it's very important. And finally, the reference list. Okay, here I have a small example about the definitions and concepts of Anita Lucecci from Arizona. She proposed a new definition of self-determined storytelling. Yes, she's this is her invention. Yes, I want to point out you can do your own methodology. Yes, and name your own methodology. In her case, her own methodology is founded in, for example, in some ideas from cartography and geography, because she's an indigenous survivor of sexual violence in her region, and she's doing the dialogue between cartography, geography, indigenous women methodological practices in her community, and she's inventing this concept of self-determined storytelling. Yes. And here, after this first part, I want to perhaps invite the group to talk about, sorry, I'm so sorry. About your principal definition or concepts. Yes? Before the other part of the section. Somebody have an idea? Which are your principal definitions or concepts? Who wants to share? Vivian?
What did you ask?
Yes, in your project, yes, I want to ask you if you can choose some important concepts for you. Yes, because sometimes if you don't have the concept, the principal concepts, it's difficult to know. It's difficult to, you can be lost very quickly and very fast. Yes, because everything is so interesting. No, it's so interesting when we are working about these issues. And perhaps in my case, I don't know, I am working with survivors of sexual violence related to armed conflict in Colombia, about reparation. Yes. And when I am reading, for example, or when I am talking with my allies, I am thinking at the same time about healing, about economical reparation, about psychological and spiritual reparation. Yes, you know, it's so, the challenge is so huge, and everything is interesting and important. Yes, but I have only 3 months or 2 months. Yes, and I need to focus. I need to focus. In my case, for example, even if I am so interested about the concept of dance, healing process, spiritual violence, economical reparation and restoration. For in this period, I want to focus in legal reparation, for example. Legal reparation is one of my concepts. The other is sexual violence, for example. And the other is, for example, armed conflict. Yes? It's not easy. It's not easy to choose for me. Yes? But I need to choose. In your case, Sufiane, can you choose some concepts or definitions for your project?
Yes.
Yes? Go on. Go on.
So for me, I'll choose to focus on the impacts of establishment of the industry on the livelihood sources of the community. So the impacts of the establishment of the industry are so many in terms of there are environmental impacts, there are social impacts. I understand, of course, the environmental impacts are related to social impacts, but I'll be more focused on the impacts of the industry on the livelihood sources. And of course, look at the water quality, the observation part. Like you mentioned, in my research, I'll have to use both quantitative and qualitative. But like you said, I don't want to do a very big project. So I will not focus more on the quantitative part, so that I will not have to go to the laboratory and do some chemical analysis of water. No, maybe I'll just look at the turbidity of the water. How clear is the water? You know, I will look at the vegetation, maybe to see the biodiversity parts, maybe looking around the trend of biodiversity around the industry, and of course, as I go far away from the industry. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's a good example, no? And perhaps it is interesting to do a little research about. Sometimes, I don't know, in my case, sometimes I have a question, yes? And I am so excited because I have this question. And when I do a little research, I discover that somebody wrote something about my question, yes? And I am a little sad because I think, oh, my question is not so unique because somebody wrote about this question. But at the same time, I am happy because, as you said, somebody else do the work, yes? And perhaps I can use this work and go deeper in my question. Yes, you don't need as a researcher to produce the data, the studies, yes, because it's like a collective practice. Yes, you can use, and is a very nice practice, research practice, to use others kind of discovering studies, etc., etc. It is important to introduce the reference. Yes, this is the good practice. But if you introduce the reference of this study, chemical studies, etc., etc., is a very good practices. And in this sense, I want to show you, perhaps somebody know the tool, but perhaps somebody didn't know the tool. Yes, is 1 second. Do you know a Google Scholar?
Yeah.
Yes, everyone? Well, this is a very good tool. Google Scholar, and Spanish, we use Google Académico. Okay, here we have in the picture Google Académico and Google Scholar. It's like when you are doing a little research, I don't know, about cooking, about some thing. Do you want to know more? Here in Google Académico, for example, I was thinking about Daisy. Yes, Daisy. I want to know, for example, who wrote about education of girls, of Maasai girls in Kenya. Okay? And Google do the first step of my research. Yes, as we can see, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But perhaps here in this site, when you have PDF, Cabianca PDF, it's free. You can go directly to this text. Okay, and it's very interesting because you have here you have the text, and here in reference you have the reference. Yes, you can have the reference and put the reference in the last section of your project. And here we have the text. Yes. Here, for example, we have this text for Daisy. I don't know if I think it's not interesting for Daisy because it's about is about education at university. Okay. Perhaps this text is not important, interesting for the project of Daisy. Here, in every text, you have the abstract, yes? And you can read only the abstract because when you read the abstract, you know if the text is interesting for you or not. And for example, here we have an interesting resources because this person, Stefan, Stefan Kotish, Kipirui, Joseph, this team have a lot of datas. Yes? And you have, for example, in this case, their principal definitions are social cultural factors, academic performance, university, and education. Okay? This is an example. This is an interesting tool, and you have, in every case, you have the reference, because sometimes it's so painful to write the reference. Here, the Google Académico or the Google Scholar do the work, and it's a very interesting tool. Okay. Somebody else want to share with the group their definitions or principal concepts? Daisy, do you want to share, or Samai, don't mind?
Okay, I can. Can I go ahead?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so for me, the ones that I'm going to concentrate on is the deeply rooted sociocultural and traditional norms that influence the girl child education. Second is socioeconomic challenges in the community. Then third that I had written is the health-related issues, which are highly faced in my community. And we also have the effectiveness of government policies and the interventions aimed at promoting girls' education.
Okay. Now you have, I think, seven concepts or four? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to ask you after in the next
Teacher,
section. Yes? Nai, go on.
I'm sorry. I'm getting some difficulties in the internet. So maybe you may be calling me, but I can't answer anything. It keep on cutting and coming back. But I'm trying to follow you up.
Okay, okay. I will call you. Okay. I don't know why I can't call you.
It's okay, but you can, if in case of any question, you can be sharing them in the chat so I can be able to
Okay,
answer.
okay. I
Yeah.
am sorry. And now you are it's okay? It is working now?
Yeah, it keep going and coming, but if I find a question, I'll be able to participate.
Okay. And do you want to participate now? To share
I've
with
not had anything. That's why I had to come in and say something, that in case there is a question, it's good to see it in the chat so that I can
Okay.
participate.
Perfect, perfect. Well, nine. Okay. Which are your principal concepts? This is the question. Which are your principal concepts? If you want, you can go on, Nai. Well, I don't know if somebody want to share. It's a good exercise to share. Nobody? Please. Please. Samai, ¿no quieres? I would love to share, but seems my mic still not working. But you can write perhaps your concepts, the man, if it's okay for you. Nai, can
Yes.
Nai, estire la mano levantada.
Okay. Nai, go on.
Yeah, I've seen the question. You've said what are the principal concept that maybe I'm going to use or I'm intend to put them. One of it is first my engagement to the community. Remember, I work with the indigenous community. There is diversity in language, culture, and understanding of what I intend to drive out of them or to understand from them based on my study. So I have to understand how to agree with them and also disagree with them based on the research topic or the study I intend to do. So those are the main things I need to observe as my principal concept. But also the involvement, inclusion, meaning that the involvement of
Okay. Thank you, Nai. Now I want to ask you, oh, she's leaving. Okay. Yeah, for example, in the case of Nai, yes, it's inclusion, but it's important to to establish the dialogue with her community, and it's not inclusion in general, yes, but inclusion in the community, yes, because if you have a very big definition or concept, it's difficult to find the reference, no? And it's easy to be lost. We can do the exercise with Google Scholar, for example, to know when Nai is coming. The community and inclusion, but inclusion is a big definition and concept, no? Social inclusion, economical inclusion, cultural inclusion. Yes, because if we use a very big concept, after is a little difficult to, everything is possible, no? Thank you. Samai?
Sí, me gustaría compartir
Yes, I would like to share with you my concepts, my main concept. My research is about
concebir el AINE como enfoque
how the approach towards protection of gender protection in Quiche women in the community, but in my case specifically for adult women who have suffered or survivor of domestic violence, sexual violence. I'm sorry. So I have many different words here that I put to be able to put into context. The first one being Elaine, which is a mechanism, which is gender violence in women, in Quiche women, adult women, Quiche, third age women, which is very centered, very focused, and to be more in depth, and resilience. It's also part of the process as well, in terms of the resilience mechanisms that are own, that could come out through the dialogue with the women.
Super. Entonces ahí ya tienes.
Excellent. So yes, you have there the exercise with Google Scholar, perhaps to seeing what you can find, because it's an interesting topic and it's very specific. So you have elder women, we have violence, gender, Quechua women.
Me hace pensar en como en el corazón de la cebolla, ¿no?
There's many things about the heart of the onions. There are many layers in the onions, and you start opening up, and we find to go more in depth. But you're already there, taking off those layers. As a research, you're trying to find this is a yield that you have here, because you have very well identified. So you're going to be starting to look into that process of going more in depth. This gives me peace. That's good. Have you done the exercise? Or would you like to do it later on? No, I have not done it yet. Wait, let's see. I'm pretty sure that we can find information. Let's take a minute to look at it. Can you all see? I think you're going to be the few researchers in the world who are going to be working on this. So how would you call it? The gender violence in Quechua women in a particular community? Elder women. So we put general for it. You can find some gender violence on women in Ayacucho. A domestic race and Quechua community. So you have the second document. So you can find interesting things in terms of the Quechua community, but not on elder women. And is this a community? Yes, no, it's not. But it serves as a reference.
Tienes el micrófono cerrado, Samay.
Sí, sí, decía que está
I was saying, yes,
en Imbabura, que es como la provincia,
it's part of the
se acerca
province,
mucho, pero está
which
como
is
a 2
very
horas de mi
close.
comunidad.
It's 2 hours from my
Es otro
community.
pueblo. Ujú.
It's another town, basically.
No.
No. So you have an access pathway for the violence of women, the participation action in Quechua women,
Quechua, no.
and this could work for you.
Es Quichua. Ujú, y es
No, it's
Aymara.
Quechua. It's another thing. I'm saying this is not it. But you see, look, there can be one text. One text. Come on. If I were you, I could go to this text.
¿Cuál? La de Quechua
You have
y
this one right here.
Ujú.
You can see the summary here. In the terms of in the framework of the project, don't talk about vulnerability. It's centered on family violence and sexual violence. But in Ecuador, you don't have anything. There's nothing written about it. But imagine, doesn't make you excited? I'm excited. Because you're going to be part of the history. Nonetheless, this can serve to look at it, as a cross-cutting topic to see what methodologies are used, what outcomes could you get out of it. So it could be in those terms, it can be a good research because it's going to be very participative. But also because of the last name, you can see there's a mestiza. So you shouldn't have an intercultural research. You'll be the first indigenous women who's going to be doing this.
Sí, y también
And also,
sí es emocionante, pero siento
it's very
también
exciting, but I think that
peso
the weight of it, I feel the weight of the project
de no poder generalizar,
of not being able to be generalized,
y el peso también de
and the
cómo
weight of
algo puede como
how can I
en la visión de que así es, pero
be left in the vision that that's how it is.
el tema de
But since it's very diverse, to talk about Quechua women,
por eso a mí me gusta mucho también como
it's why I like it to be able to write it down.
mi comunidad y desde ahí como que
This is my community. Let me write something there. Good, okay. But let's work on that load right now. It's not, please don't feel too loaded. And what you can do is, with your project, I don't have a perspective, a general perspective, right? I'm not pretending to be, to give you a general concept. I would say it's a very nice project because yeah, I'm being placed with the exercise that I'm doing right now. That's the idea. As a researcher, what type of research can I find? How do I like to do it? What you're saying is nice. You're very aware, a lot of respect that you do not want that the findings that you can find with your methodologies are too general. You don't want that desire. This is not your only truth. It's a different perspective that you're having. You're co-creating. And you can say that. You can do that in the methodological side. I want to contribute with I want to contribute with this topic in my community. So that way you don't feel that much pressure. Something that I was thinking also is I like the last session in which we discussed about us, about our own bodies. And this came to my mind, if I can write also about this topic, if talk about it and become also a part of the research, not only the lady, the so I can put a study case for elder women, but see if I can narrate my own for my own sake to not be general. How do I feel it? How does this topic? How do I live this topic? And why it's important to talk about this adult women and to talk about sexual violence. Yes, of course. This that you're talking about, it's something that I'll ask student to write again. If she can share her experience. I am terrible because I like to invite everyone to speak. So I don't want to catch you off guard, but what I want to say, Sama, is currently research done by women and by Indigenous women or trans women or Afro women. It's a research done on the first person. It's totally valid because this is not questions. It's not questions are being generated. This is through it's our question. It's my question. In another session, I'll tell you the topic about this. No, it's not an external topic, at least not in my case. I feel that
niña de abuso, ¿sí? Y esa experiencia me marca y hace que
and
toda
and
mi
this made me awake in terms of being more aware of the topics. They're very proper in that case.
Entonces es totalmente válido que tú hagas
So it's very valid to talk about
que habla
the first person about your own experience. You can also be able to express to talk about and write about something beautiful. But you're gonna the statutes, the internal statutes. I am part of it. I am part of the project. But I'm somebody who comes from the outside. It's a co-creative project. It's an internal dialogue between myself and the elder women, and it's also very valid in that sense. You can have so for international cooperation, you can have the project, the first.
Después es lo que yo he hecho personalmente, ya después lo vuelves, puedes traducirlo, ¿sí? Pero hay algo.
I can go later on and translate the document. If there's something that I can keep working on it from your own emotions. There's something there in the proposal, something there written that feels like the vibe. That there's something that's the same project that you can be writing about. And you can feel it. You can smell the topic. You can see how the load of it in the good sense, right? It's there. And it's that part of thinking in how we're going to be taking care. I'll talk about a lot about the care as you work on the project. You're working on something that are also going to move you. And at the same time, it's going to be a brave project. It's a possibility for healing as well. During the research, the writings. On one way, I'll talk about, you can talk here, you have a network here to support you and be able to to talk about the strategies so that when you get to the communities, then talk about it. So how you can be able to take care of yourself as well and be able to put into a distance to be able to place yourself there. And it's totally valid to work in the first person. It's a thing of beauty. Yeah. Dunen, do we have Dunen, if you can have something? One of the important topics that we discussed here
esa apuesta, ¿no?
in our
De
country.
trabajar en primera persona. No sé, Dunen, si nos pudieras compartir tu experiencia.
So we talk about the things about the first person. You can share that, Dunen.
Sí, creo que es muy bonito también
I feel
como
it's pretty to also to read this as something that you live and you experience. In my case, at my short age, I was very interested in the ancestral women, in the sexual reproduction, and the part of midwifing. And this obviously has an origin, and the origin and that knowledge,
cómo me acompañan,
how
cómo
it comes across my body,
he vivido
how
en
it
mis
accompanies me,
experiencias corporales, cotidianas con ellos.
that allows you to have that experience on my day-to-day life. And this has a lot to do with, at the beginning, so how can I pretend so intimate, something so proper, of my own, but in the way that you start creating this methodology that it becomes very pretty, because when I was looking at the work for other people, you can see that it's very authentic. Why are you afraid, for example, why are you afraid of giving birth? Why are you afraid of being a mother? So that in the case of the teacher, is very healing to discuss these topics. They doesn't have to hide it in their own research, but also, I mean, you're having that question is, why Samai is working on this woman in her community. Something has started to be weaved there. So it's not only, it was something that was born reading in the research diploma, but it has to do a lot with all of those analyses and experiences that we've lived. So in that sense, it's healing, because we start talking about, we're going to start working on our emotions. Then you start doing the massage, by writing the process as a whole. And I also want to share with you that it's also been, it's very complex, and I want to take advantage of the fact that
En el mundo académico han encontrado un lugar solamente
the
desde las
studies of sexuality in the academic world that talk about based on experiences. That it's very important to work on sexual violence, on gender violence. I would invite you to, because I've worked on my, based on my own question, based on my own history, on the part of gender violence and sexual violence in particular. And lately in this last couple of years, I said, so where's the place of sexuality as a whole? Where's the international cooperation to financing those projects? Can you do a thesis based on these projects? Can you write about it? But when you start working on this concept, on sexuality has two vortexes. So you have the pain, but you also have the pleasure, the healing. So it's very legitimate to talk about pain, to talk about violence.
So, yo recuerdo mucho en un
But you also
territorio
have the other vortex. So in that territory where I had the pleasure to accompany, there was an elder who told us the story is not complete if I only stay within this vortex of pain. So this years, I've dared, for example, like somebody has said, to work on sexuality because it is a taboo. So it's very, how do I take that risk? I was thinking, imagine when we speak about with this lady, with this older woman, I was able to make questions that would help her collect based on her own pleasure, based on being alive. Because women in general, Indigenous women in particular, the place that they've had in the academy, in the scientific research, and at the same time, we are all agents of pleasure. Imagine, I imagine myself talking with a dialogue with when you talk about with that elder dreaming of being able to reconnect with your own bodies. And this is what makes her happy. And this leads us to the other part of the discussion of sexuality. And all these layers that we're finding within sexuality are nice to be discussed. So I always share this because I feel that I worked on this for many years, and I feel that all my life has been worked on the different types of violence. And I've said, how has science does not give us the opportunity to ask questions on well-being? And that's fine. It's also okay to talk about within through the pain vortex because we have to talk about those violences. And the questions I would like to kind of share is, what do we do after these questions? In this part of reconnection and that part of healing process, and that's based on the violences that we receive. Yes. So this is the very nice discussion that we're having. Tune in. Do we take the break right now? I think we went over a bit. All right, let's put the timer for 10 minutes. Grab your coffee, have some water, stretch some, and we'll be back in 10.
Welcome back to the session. And for the last part of the section, we have the participation of a domain here in the chat. Somebody want to read the concepts, please?
Let me read it.
Thank you.
Okay. Florence said mentioned the concept Patpatayan, sacred tree, grove for rituals for fertility and prosperity. She would like to highlight the implications for women and their decision-making roles in healing and peace building in the face of urbanization.
Thank you, Nukila. Wow. We have here not only the concept, but at the same time, the methodological approach and the methodological tool domain. Now I want to invite you to introduce, for example, this concept in the section of framework, and perhaps the specific methodological tool in the methodological section. This is so nice, no? I want to participate in your encounters in your community. It's so interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to share for this last part some ideas. You can see the screen? Yes?
Sí, señora.
Sí, señora.
Gracias. Well, Friday we have we will have the amazing presentation of the projects of Latin America. And I think it's a good opportunity to know more about the different regions of the diploma. And I want to, and after in the 2nd of April, we have the other presentation, yes? But in this last part of the section, I want to think about the sections, no? Not the section of the project, but the section of the project. Sorry, the writing process need to have it's important to choose some sections, no? For example, if you have 3 objectives, specific objectives, you can think about 3 different chapters, yes? And for example, in my first objective should be my first chapter, and you can use the general idea of the objectives, and you can write the title of the chapter. Yes, and it's the same thing with chapter 2, chapter 3, etc., etc. Yes, I want in this final part to work a little about, we talk here about my proposal writing plan. Yes, it's important to have a writing plan, because in some regions, as in my region here, we don't plan, we don't have a lot of planning culture here. Yes, when somebody is writing, it's like a free exercise, but when we are working in a project, it's important to have a writing plan. Yes, and I want to work in this final section of the session about your chapters. Yes, for this exercise, I want to invite you to have in mind your specific objectives, yes, and to propose, for example, if you have 3 specific objectives, to propose 3 specific chapters. Each objective has a chapter, yes, and they exist a relation between the general idea of the objective and the title of the chapter. Yes, you need to establish the connection between the specific objective and the chapter. Yes, I know it's a little hard to do this exercise, but I think it's important to do it. If you want, you can have, I don't know, perhaps 10 minutes to work individually, and after we can share the result of this exercise. It is okay? The orientation is clear? Yes? Perfect. Fifian? Go on, Fifian.
Okay, just a minute. So I would like to clarify or you explain to me further the difference between the 2 objectives. Like you said, we have the general objectives and specific.
Yes.
Yes, general objectives and specific objectives. So I don't know whether I'm right if I say specific objectives will be more than general objectives. Like I can have 3 general objectives, but several specific objectives.
Okay, it's better to have one general objective, yes?
Oh, okay.
Only one. Because if you have 2 or 3 general objectives, it's too big. It's so much work for you. Yes, it's better to have one general objective. The general objective is like the biggest question. Yes, it's like this. This is the general objective, and the general objective have, for example, 1, 2, or 3, or 4 maximum. I think is better because the specific objectives are the chapters. Yes,
So
if you
I guess the confusion is because you wrote objectives. You wrote specific, I mean, general objectives.
Yes.
With an S.
Yes, I agree
This
with
is
you.
where I got
It's a
confused.
mistake. Yes, I am so sorry. Yes,
Okay.
perhaps I was thinking about all the objectives, general objectives of the participants, but
Okay.
in your case, it is better to have one general objective. Yes,
Thank
and
you.
after you have the specific objective, and each objective is a chapter. Yes.
Okay.
My
Yes.
advice is to propose carefully the specific objective, because if you propose 5 chapters, you need to develop 5 chapters.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We can come back, I think, in 10 minutes, Dunan, it's okay? Okay. Well, we can, for example, here we have the example of Fatima. Do you see the chat? Fatima, yes, Fatima proposed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 specific objectives. Yes, to understand the sociocultural context and traditional practices affecting Maroboro girls' education. This is her specific objective. Number 1, her chapter could be Chapter 1, the sociocultural context and traditional practices affecting Boroboro girls' education. Okay, this is the exercise. The second could be the government initiatives and programs addressing the educational needs of Moromoro communities. Chapter 2. Chapter 3, the interventions, the community-driven or NGO-led interventions promoting girls' education. This is a good exercise because when we transform the specific objective in a chapter, we can see if we are capable or to write this chapter. Yes, it's a good exercise to the delimitation of your chapters and objectives. Yes, the chapter number 3 could be the perspectives and experiences of parents, students, and teachers, and local communities about right to education. Yes. And the final chapter could be the gender gap for Indigenous girls and women within the community. Yes? Now is better? Who wants to share her objectives and chapters?
I can.
Okay, go on, Daisy.
Should I share my screen or just read them?
As you want.
Okay, let me try and share my screen and see if it will work. Okay, can you see it in the other account?
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. So my specific objective is going to be, just a minute, I don't know why it's rushing down and up. It's refusing to move. I'm sorry. Okay. So my general objective, I have 1 general objective and 5 specific objectives. And the first one is to study challenges faced by Pokot girls in education matters to provide a comprehensive understanding of the barriers and obstacles hindering girls' access to and retention in education within the Pokot community. And my first specific objective, which will be my chapter 1, is addressing sociocultural norms, traditions, and practices within the Pokot community that hinder girls' education to facilitate greater access and participation. The chapter 2 is going to be on to investigate the economic factors contributing to girls' limited access to education, including poverty, household financial constraints, and the cost of schooling related expenses such as fees, uniforms, and transportation. My chapter 3 will be investigating the extent and consequences of gender-based violence encompassing sexual harassment, assault, and domestic violence on girls, educational participation and achievements within the Pokot community. Chapter 4, evaluate how health-related obstacles like malnutrition, illness, and limited healthcare access intersect with girls' education in the Pokot community and determine their effects on girls, attendance, and academic performance in schools. And the last chapter is going to assess the performance of educational institutions, policies, and practices in meeting the educational requirements of Pokot girls, with a focus on identifying areas for improvement and implementing actionable solutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daisy. It's a good exercise, no, to think in terms of chapters. Now, I want to say for the presentation in Friday, the next Friday, and for the group of Asia and Africa, the 2nd of April, you don't need to replace. You need to present your general objective, your specific objectives, and after the chapters. Okay? Sometimes the title of a chapter need to be or could be more because it's a little longer, no? The title of a chapter, if you put, I don't know, a paragraph. In the future, when you will you will write your book, your first book, you need to have a sexy title of your chapters. Yes, and it's a good exercise, perhaps, to do a little to write yes, not a paragraph, but it's better to think. But it's really a nice work. Thank you, Daisy. Somebody want to share? I was thinking Nai, perhaps, or Jessie, Nukila, Alina, Lorena, who wants to share? Nobody?
Can I share?
Of course, Vivian. Go on.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
So my general objective is to assess the social impacts of a cement factory on Pokot Indigenous community. My specific objectives are to determine the social dynamics within Indigenous communities in terms of their cultural values, traditional practices, and socioeconomic structures. The second one is to determine the social impacts of the factory on the Indigenous community in terms of land use, community cohesion, traditional livelihoods, and cultural heritage. Those are just some of the parameters that I will look into, but I'm not limited to those ones because, of course, the community are the one who will tell me what is happening. And then the last one, number 3, is to establish effective mitigation strategies to minimize negative social impacts and in order now to maximize the benefits to the Indigenous people.
Perfect. And the chapter?
So that is just the draft.
Okay. And the chapters? Could you?
I will open it and then I will share before Saturday.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jenilyn, ¿quieres compartir?
Sí, pero yo no sé si los podría.
Yes, but I don't know if I could just read them because I have problems with my computer with the internet. So I'm from the phone. Yes, of course. Well, as a general objective, I have to identify the ancestral cosmo knowledge of the Wayuu women for the protection of Mother Earth and the economy for life before the impacts of environmental pollution and depletion. Within these specific objectives, the first one is exploring traditional practices and environmental practices of women for the protection and taking care of Mother Earth. The second is to determine how pollution and depletion from an environmental perspective affect the economy of Wayuu women. And the third one is to identify the impacts of pollution and environmental pollution and depletion in the health of women, the environment, and the economy for the way of life of the Wayuu women. And the last one is to establish strategies and mechanisms from the Wayuu women to strengthen the systems to take care of Mother Earth and the economy for life before or in the face of environmental pollution and depletion. So in the first few, so the first objective, specific objective, which is to explore the traditional practices of women for the conservation of Mother Earth, I have a chapter name who could be ancestral practices for the conservation of Mother Earth. The next chapter would be the history of women in the protection of environmental, in the protection of the environment and spiritual practices. The next one is the connection of Wayuu women with nature. From the second objective, specific objective, the first chapter is the evolution of the economy for life for the women, Wayuu women. The second chapter is pollution versus economy for life of the Wayuu women. For the third objective, specific objective, which is to identify the impacts of depletion and pollution on Mother Earth. The first chapter is the impacts of environmental depletion in the health of women. The next chapter is the impact of pollution on Mother Earth. So one of them is about health and the other one is directly on Mother Earth. And the last objective, specific objective, which is establish mechanisms from Wayuu women to strengthen systems to take care of Mother Earth. The first chapter is called Strategies from Wayuu women to strengthen the care systems. And the next chapter is ancestral practices led by Wayuu women. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. Here's a very advanced work that you have done. Okay, Jenny, all I would say to you is that you have as chapters per objectives, and you have sub-chapters. So I would advise that you think of them as a chapter of your objective and then sub-chapters so that you don't go on the extreme and you are trying to take on too much, because to write 6, 7, 8 chapters is a lot of work for a few months. That would be the only recommendation that I would give you. And maybe if you have that ability to do that, you could, but sometimes we get very excited and then we have to develop what we have decided to do. Thank you so much. And I like the proposal that these are titles of the chapters that are short and that you want to read it. I would say it's important when you have a name for a chapter. It's like an invitation for the reader to read the chapter, which is what I was kind of trying to tell Daisy. Look for the hook in the title. A lot of readers only read the title and they choose if they want to read it or not. They want to read that chapter or not. So having those titles be attractive is very important.
We have 5 minutes. If you want, you can share before closing the session. Doman, excuse me. Go on, Doman. But you can read. Well, we have the chapter 1 is levels of participation of Indigenous women in political and public life. It's a title, interesting title, short title. It's a good balance, no? And you have the principal idea of this chapter is to evaluate a specific objective, evaluate current local practices in the exercise of the right to effective participation in political and public life. You have the sub-questions. After you have challenges, the second chapter, challenges to effective participation of Indigenous women. A good balance, you have the specific objective and the question. And after you have the chapter number 3, advancing effective engagement in political and public life of Indigenous women. Okay, I think it's a good exercise and is a good balance between objective, titles, and questions, Domen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Nai, you want to share before going to the lunchtime?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted just to share the specific objective and the objective and specific objective.
Okay, go on.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've just drafted this. I have them in my other laptop. This is one of the only general objectives I have. This one is to advocate for Indigenous people land rights and aspiration for the Indigenous knowledge of land use plan. Actually, the topic of my study is the untold stories of Indigenous women, land encroachment and evictions. So that's why if you read my general objective, that you can see the issues of land right and land use knowledge appearing. So I have 2 specific objectives. One is the respect and promote the existing traditional knowledge system in place. The Indigenous community have been having their own system, but they are not impressed or even obeyed or promoted. So that's one of the specific objectives that I need to meet or to show it based on the topic that I have. But the second one is the amplifying the Indigenous women experience and impact of land encroachment and eviction. Those are the specific objectives. I think so I was answering the first question that you asked. So I was not answering the chapters and others. So in that, maybe I will start now working on it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nai. It's a good beginning. Now you need to think about the chapters. And I think next Friday in the presentation of Latin America representative, we can continue to think about this interesting exercise. Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a good day or night and see you Friday. Okay? See you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.